guys, I'm Michelle Martin, and I'm going to be speaking to you today about epigenetics. Every day we make, does everyone have their pamphlets before?
Yes,
Yes.
we do.
Great.
Our surveys.
Great.
Mhm.
Every day we make mundane choices that seem to have little effect on our overall lives, like what we eat for dinner and stressing over our jobs. Now, what if all those little things like stress level and diet didn't affect us, but our children and their children? That train of thought comprises the new field of epigenetics, which, according to the American Psychological Association, supports variation in inherited traits can originate through other mechanisms than DNA expression. So what is epigenetics? Epi comes from the Greek word for environment, while genetics means code, but in modern day we obviously attribute the word genetics to genetics. Basically, epigenetics is the interaction of genes and the environment, put simply. Epigenetics could be a clue to how people could prevent diseases through changing the way they live their lives. By briefly discussing the history, epigenetics today, and the future advancements in epigenetics, I hope to convey that your legacy is not set in stone, but is instead yours to decide. Although epigenetics is an up-and-coming field of study, there is a long history behind the field. After reading literature on variation of traits in nature, a young scientist named Francis Galton traveled to Africa, where he further spurred his interest in biology. According to Macalester College's article, Nature versus Nurture Debate, in 1865, Galton began to study heredity through twin studies and some of the first ever questionnaire and survey methods. Galton went on to found eugenetics. Now, can anybody guess what eugenetics is?
Your genetics.
Close. Eugenetics comes from the Greek roots of good and generation or origin.
So it's good genetics.
Yes. Eugeneticists try to find methods to improve heredity characteristics, both physical and mental, of humans. Today, eugenetics is mainly discounted because it later began to suggest that reproduction of only those with higher socioeconomic status and higher education levels was what was best for humans as a species. Regardless, Galton's work and the nature versus nurture question he posed became the foundation of epigenetics. Epigenetics is comprised of a symbiosis between both nature and nurture aspects of development. After early advancements, molecular advancements were made at the beginning of the 20th century, furthering epigenetics as a field. As stated by Thomas Hunt Morgan in his book, Sex-Linked Inheritance in Drosophila. Now, can anybody guess what Drosophila are?
No.
Anybody?
No.
No.
What is it?
They are fruit flies.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So
wow.
they study fruit flies.
Heritable expression in fruit flies could occur without corresponding changes in the genes of the organism. That was the main focus of his actual work. And this molecularly proved that DNA was not only the only thing responsible for gene expression. After Morgan's research, more research mainly conducted on fruit flies established that genes were not independent, but instead were interconnected, and that gene location can be very important in the expression of the actual gene. According to Epigenetics, a historical overview, last updated March 15, 2006, in the journal PubMed, methylation occurs, which tightly packs certain segments of DNA so that they cannot be expressed and are silenced. So basically, it would be like if I took a book and I just closed it with a chain lock or something. You wouldn't be able to open it without the key. So basically, those are genes that are silenced. There's no proteins that can read those genes and express them. So they never are expressed. We know now that the pattern of gene silencing and expression is heritable and can be affected by environmental factors. In an article in the 2007 issue of Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, colleagues of Doliner found that female mice were exposed to the chemical found in plastic bottles while pregnant were more likely to produce offspring that were obese instead of normal weight. And that's the agouti mice that are shown here. And those would be the methyl groups that shut off the gene. It was also suggested that in the March 2013 issue of Cell by William Callan and colleagues, in his article Influence of Metabolism on Enzymes and Disease, that certain enzymes and mutation in said enzymes from things like diet could cause changes in metabolism and likelihood of disease. This research can hopefully be a starting point for fighting ailments such as diabetes, cancer, and Alzheimer's. There have been many advancements in epigenetics in the past 20 years, especially with little sign of slowing down. Everyone has heard of stem cells, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And their ability to heal those who are sick, but often having harvesting these stem cells is very unethical. This leaves scientists and patients at a crossroad, trying to find cures, but not wanting to be unethical. According to Epigenome EU, epigenetics could be a possible solution to this problem. Researchers hope to be able to manipulate cells already in the bodies of patients so that they can, in a way, de-evolve from being specialized, or like a skin cell or a blood cell, to being a stem cell. Because what makes stem cells so great is that they're totipotent, meaning that they can be used they can turn into any type of body cell. So, that's where that's going. In essence, researchers, yeah, I just said that. Diseases such as cancer and HIV are also being looked at. Epigeneticists have also in recent years found that certain diseases can be caused from the parent the disease is inherited from. According to an article on the 2008 website Nature.com, if a small deletion on a certain chromosome is from the maternal parent, then the child will have Angelman syndrome, which is a nervous system disorder pictured on the left. And if the deletion on that particular chromosome is from the father, then the child will have Prader-Willi syndrome, which is an eating disorder. During my first year of college, I worked in a research lab with college-age adults, testing their cognitive abilities. One day, a pair of twins came into the lab. Although they looked identical, their results were very different. I then researched more into twin studies and came across epigenetics. I hope this speech and I became very interested in the field myself and hope to pursue a career in it. I hope this speech has helped gain a new perspective to the way that we can look at diseases. How exciting to think that diseases like Alzheimer's and cancer could be prevented by simply looking into someone's genes.
Very good.
Alright, so now we have a question and answer period.
Okay.
Does anybody have any?
Yes, I do. Basically, you're saying that if a gene is handed down from the mother, it can cause one disorder. Or if it's handed down from the father, same parents, it can cause a different disorder.
Yeah.
And is there anything that can negate either one of those disorders, or is that just...
No, I mean, and a lot of times when I say passed down, I'm not talking about things that are necessarily normally passed down, like eye color traits, things like that. I'm talking about translocation, where a code would be in the wrong area, inversion, where a chromosome is flipped and they're not in the way, the sequences are literally, they trade places, or if there's a deletion. So it's only bad things. If it was just a normal thing inherited from a parent and both parents had it, it wouldn't, the dominant trait would cancel out. But things like deletions and that, no, it won't. Yeah, there's no way to fix it.
So where you show those two kids, could one kid be born with the father's trait, one born with the mother's trait? Like one would have the eating disorder and one would have the nerve disorder?
The probability would be really, really low because both of those diseases are relatively rare, and it would mean that both times they had a child, their chromosomes, which, as you can imagine, the body goes through a lot of proofreading before chromosomes are allowed to, so a cell can divide and gametes can be produced to pass on to children. But that the likelihood of that happening twice, having a deletion with the mother and the father, is really low, but hypothetically, yes, that could happen. Any other questions? All right, so I'll come with
Thank
the
you.
evaluation.
Okay, wait, I have to give my closing.
Go ahead,
part.
honey.
Okay, well, you all have your surveys to fill out, 5 being the best and outstanding, 1 being unacceptable and that she's missing something. But overall, you know, what did the speaker do well? What do you think that she did well?
Well, I think she did very good with her speech.
Oh, good, well, thank you.
Yeah, I think that for people who don't understand
Yeah,
this
I
kind of
understood
science,
everything she
it
said.
kind of made it where you could
Yeah.
understand, you know, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I think it's
Made
great.
a complex topic easy.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
I knew everything she said because she, you know, filled
Explained
everything in.
nice. Okay, and what does Michelle or the speaker need to improve on? Is there anything that you would say she needs to improve on?
No, I thought she did a very good job.
Okay,
Mhm.
great. All right, well, if you can fill these out and then put them on the center of the table and I'll collect them, that would be great. And thanks for giving up your time and your day to listen to Michelle's speech.
Thank you.